We are with Representative Tina Orwall from the 33rd District. You are wrapping up the first week of this 60-day session. Talk to us about your main priority this year.
I think my top priority bill is language access in schools. And this is something I've been working on many years with the community, with families, with open doors and all kind of advocates. And I'm really proud of our work, and I'm hoping it gets to the governor this year. We want to make sure all families feel welcome when they enter the schools and can be part of their students' education. And what I've heard from a lot of families from my district who are immigrants, where maybe English is not their first language, is they often do not have access to interpreters or interpreters that have the skill set they need, especially if they're maybe have a student has an IEP or 504, and those are plans for students with special needs. And so if they don't have access to an interpreter, they can't be involved in their student's education, and the student might not have as much support or more of a pathway for success.
Over the years that you have served in the legislature, you've consistently worked on bills to help survivors and victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, among others. This year, you have a measure that continues that work. Is that right?
Yes, I do have a bill this session supporting survivors, and I'm very proud of the work. I team up with Representative Mossbrocker, who's on our SAFE task force. And I'm especially proud because so much of the work in this bill and other bills is really led by survivors. And this year, there's three important parts. One is it really is going beyond the rights of survivors of sexual assault, but it's saying all violent crimes, that survivors should be supported from the process. And it has a whole list of rights that they have, such as, hearing when the hearings are and having the information they need and having advocates. The second part is we're doing trauma-informed training for prosecutors. And again, we want our prosecutors to have the skill set to make sure they're supporting survivors and not adding to maybe trauma or having them disconnect from the process. And the third component is really looking at survivors in our K-12 system. We're hearing from a lot of students that have had horrific incidents and they don't necessarily feel heard or supported by their schools. So we're going to take a really close look at this and make sure that we're setting up best practices so that students get the support they need and deserve.
Another issue that you care deeply about and have done numerous bills on is suicide prevention. And this year, I believe you have a bill that addresses suicide prevention and veterans.
Yes, so one of the priorities and continuation of the work around suicide prevention is around veterans. And I've been really honored this last year and a half to be part of what's called the Governor's Challenge. Washington State is part of, I think, 20 states that have been involved at a federal level to look at best practices of what can we be doing to better support veterans and prevent suicide. And so we have a number of recommendations, and I'm trying to move the recommendations forward. And, examples would be ask the question, if someone's going to a healthcare provider or seeking services of the state, is someone saying, are you or a member of your family a veteran, or have they served in the military? And that's important information to link people to resources. And we're also trying to do very specific strategies around lethal means and suicide reduction.
This 2022 session is going to be fully remote, much like last year, but wasn't the original plan to have a hybrid session?
Yes, we had hoped when we were planning for the session that we would have some of us on site, that maybe it would be partially remote and partially on site, especially the floor activities. I'll be there with a small crew, so only a handful of us will be on site. But the good news is that we're continuing all of the committee work remotely, which does allow many more people to participate. They can watch it, they can testify, they can send in the remarks. And we're seeing just huge numbers of people participating in these meetings. And to me, that's really one of the things we've learned through the pandemic is ways to engage more people throughout the state.